Welcome to Sunday Springboard with Melanie and Kimberlyn Coaching, where we help women find their confidence and thrive after toxic relationships. I heard a woman the other day say three things that were really simple and felt really powerful. She said, if they wanted to, they would, and no response is a response, and not everyone has the same values or the same goals or the same heart. Hang on, let me share my screen with you. As I was thinking about these statements that she made, I thought they're really powerful. They're really profound, and I think she was talking about them in reference to relationships, maybe romantic relationships. But I started thinking, and I believe that they are very relevant to a lot of areas of our life, and I think they're also relevant to us. So I just want to explore that a little bit today. Let's talk about how we can use these thoughts to help our lives, and then how we might want to think about them in regards to our own selves. So let's start off with our first one. And of course, my premise is actions speak louder than words. When we're in a toxic relationship, I don't know about you, but there were so many times that I used to say things like, well, I know he loves me. He didn't really act like it, but I wanted to believe it. And how many times we look at people and we judge them by their words, not by their actions. And sometimes we judge ourselves by our words and not by our actions. So this is what we want to work on today. So the first one is, if they wanted to, they would. Wow. We hear people make excuses, we make excuses ourselves, but bottom line is we do what we want to do. So if someone says, I'll call you, and they don't, if they wanted to, they would. What if we ask them if they want to go do something with us, and they say, well, I will, or I'll try, or I'll think about it, and nothing happens, and we make excuses. Well, they got too busy. They didn't feel good that day. The traffic was too bad. Again, we make excuses. And the bottom line is, if they wanted to, they would. What about us? Do we do the same thing? What about getting somewhere on time? If you are late to something, imagine if someone had said, if you get here on time, you'll get $1 million. Would you have gotten there on time? You probably would have gotten there way early. And anything else that we don't really want to do it, but we say we will, maybe because we're afraid of other people judging us, or we think we should do this, but because we're not all engaged, we're not really excited about it, we don't want to, we don't put out the effort to really do it right, or even sometimes do it at all. And these are things that we can look at with other people. How many times are we making excuses for other people? What about if you are in a relationship with an addict? Now, if you've ever been Al-Anon, you know we didn't cause it, we can't cure it, and we can't control it. If someone is an addict and they want to get well, they will do what it takes. If someone wants a job, they will do what it takes. Now, I'll tell you how I know this one. My ex-husband, that was an alcoholic, needed to get a job, and he acted like he would take any kind of job, and I believed him. But then we had a friend of his got out of prison, and we let him stay with us for a while. And he really wanted a job, and he borrowed my bicycle, and he drove my bicycle miles away looking for jobs. He eventually got a job at Sonic, and he did so well that he moved up to assistant manager. But it showed me how someone who really wants a job looks for a job. So if you have someone living with you and they're not getting a job, for the most part, if they want a job, they'll do what it takes. Now, all these things I'm saying are generalizations. We do know there are times that we try really hard for a job and they keep telling us no. Maybe that means we need to look at the jobs we're looking at, or it may just be not the right time of our life. So please don't take anything I'm saying here as the absolute gospel truth. and that never works for someone, because also we know in Houston, traffic can actually be a reason why you're late. But for the most part, if people want to do something, they do it. Think about us with habits we want to break. I want to lose weight. This is a big one for me. I want to lose weight, but if I wanted to badly enough, wouldn't I change my food habits enough to do it? I know how to do it. I just don't always want it bad enough to do what it takes. So there's some things that we would like to do, but we don't want it bad enough to really do it. So what I want to look at with this one is twofold. One is for ourselves. Are there habits that we say we want to break? And you know Yoda, there is no try, there is only do or not do, or however it says that. So determine if we say we want to do it, then what's keeping us from actually going all in? And when we're talking with other people, especially if you're dealing with a relationship that's toxic, if they are not showing you the kind of love, the kind of affection, the responsibility to help take care of you and your children and your lives like they should, find a way to see clearly and not make excuses for them. I'm not saying that you always have to confront people on this. It's just, if you know this yourself, it can help you a lot. Like I said, if you're waiting on the phone for someone to call you and they don't, and you're making all excuses of why, if they wanted to, they would. And along that line, no response is a response, because this connects with the first one. If people want to, they will. They will find a way to do it. Again, this doesn't mean that there might be times that you try to get a hold of someone and their phone is truly dead. But if someone's phone is always dead, how true is that? How many times do people truly let their phones die all the time? If you are interviewing for a job and the company doesn't call you back, if you are trying to sell things and you have a good lead here and they want to think about it and they'll get back to you. When these people don't get back to you, they don't call you, they don't contact you, the no response is a response. Now, again, I think it's good if you've contacted someone first, you don't hear anything back from them, maybe contact them one more time to make sure they got it. People do lose emails and lose texts, and things do fly out into cyberspace, but I don't think it happens that often. So if you are contacting someone and they're constantly not receiving your emails or your texts or something, if there's not a technology problem, that's probably a sign that they are not interested in whatever it is you're trying to interact with them on. So make sure they got the communication, and if they did and they don't respond, then that is your response. And once we realize that, we can kind of let it go. You know, that sitting by the phone thing, that's horrible. How many of you have done it? If you've ever done it, put a comment, but sitting by the phone is terrible. So in our world today, it's better just go about your business. If they call you, fine. If they don't, you've got other things that you're working on in your life, things you like to do, where you're not dependent on that person giving you a call. And the third thing is, not everyone has the same values or the same goals or the same heart as we do. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that ours are good and theirs are bad, but we're just different. We come from different families. We come from different cultures. Maybe in your world, if someone says, I'll try to make it, that means they're going to be. Another person says, I'll try to make it, and it means they're really not going to. Or I'll think about it, or I'll do it if I can. In some people's worlds, then, like for me, if I ever even say the tiniest bit about something, I will be there because it is important to me to be able to be depended on. But some people will just make a statement because they don't want the other person to get upset at them. And so they'll just say something like, I'll be there if I can, I'll try if I can, I'll think about it. And so if you're on a different wavelength than they're on, that can cause problems and pain and resentment. So make sure you're on the same path. So communicate with someone. If they say, I'll think about it, or I'll try. Then you can even say, what does that mean? Does that mean you are likely to do this, or you are not likely to do this? And on some of this stuff, again, sometimes we can confront and talk about it. Sometimes we just keep the information in our brain and helps us know what to expect or what not to expect. Because we know that expectations are premeditated resentments. When we expect things from other people and they don't give it back to us what we want, then that moves us into resentment. Some of that can be stopped if we communicate well and make sure that we're thinking the same way. And also, if we're dealing with toxic relationships, there are some people that actually don't have our best interests at heart. Some places it's miscommunications, but some places it's people trying to take advantage of us. And again, we go back to the beginning of making excuses for people when they're not behaving appropriately, they're not behaving lovingly. A person who cares about you does not want to hurt your feelings. A person who cares about you cares about what you feel. They don't care just enough to keep you around. They care all the time what you feel. Now that doesn't mean that they're not ever going to do something that you're not happy about. Even in good relationships, we never make the other person happy all the time, and we're not supposed to. But if we're not, if we're doing something the other person's not that happy about, we're going to at least consider, talk about it, try to mitigate whatever we can, the pain anything might be causing the other person. That was a lot of words. Hopefully that made sense. So anyway, have discussions with people, make sure you're on the same path. And what is your takeaway from this? My takeaway from these three things is, the first part of this is everyone is responsible for their own stuff. I need to take responsible for my own actions. And this actually is a really great thing because we have no control over anybody else. If I take control of my own actions, I can make changes in things. But that also means I need to let other people be responsible for their own stuff. So when we're thinking about other people, we're trying to see clearly. Are they, do we have clear communication? Am I imagining things and putting things on them and making excuses for them when really they are not on the same path with me? Now, trying to discern this about other people is often very difficult on your own, especially if you're talking with your friends. It can be helpful, but your friends are also so close to you, they sometimes just jump right in the box with you. This is a place where a coach can be very helpful to you. We can talk, and I can be the detached person where you can bounce your ideas off of. And what I found was, when I was able to actually speak the words that were in my head to other people about why my husband wasn't doing this or wasn't doing that, or why they were doing this or were doing that, I could hear them. Once I spoke them out loud, I could hear them and realize that these are excuses. This doesn't truly make sense when I tell this to another person. So when I ran it around in my head, I could make it make sense because I wanted it to. So talk with other people, help discern that when it comes to other people. So stop making excuses for them, stop making excuses for yourself. So for yourself, look at the things you're doing. Are the things that you're doing, or you're saying you'll do because you're afraid of other people being upset at you? You feel like you're going to feel guilty if you don't do it. And so you feel like you have to do it, but you don't really want to do it. So you're not putting your best effort out, and maybe you're finding excuses not to do it. You'll be much better off to determine which things you want to do, which things you want to spend the time on, which things speak to you and you feel are important. Say yes to those things and say no to the other things. You can work on it and come up with ways to say that. You know, you can just say, I'm not able to do that right now. You don't have to have an excuse. You don't even have to have a reason. You don't have to tell someone why you can't do it. You don't even have to say, you can say I can't. And the reason that you can't is because you don't want to spend the time on it. It won't fit into your schedule, into your life the way you want. Again, you may need some help in doing that. You can work with a coach on that. There's a link in the show notes if you want to schedule a free confidence consult, discovery call. We can talk and decide if coaching would be helpful for you. And finally, just the final thing is no excuses. Let's stop making excuses for ourselves. Let's stop making excuses for others. Let's work on seeing things clearly in others, clearly in ourselves, communicate clearly. And if we do that, I think we'll have better relationships. I think we will have a lot less stress because we are tolerating behavior from others that it's not acceptable, but we're making excuses, or we're waiting around hoping someone is going to act a certain way, making ourselves believe they're going to act that way, and they're not. And we keep on and on in this toxic relationship where maybe we need to stop that relationship. Depends, or at least interact differently. All right, I hope this was helpful. I hope you have a good week. Schedule a session if you want to see if I can be helpful to you, and you can watch my videos. If you've missed any of my past ones, you can watch them on my YouTube channel. The link is also in the show notes. Bye-bye and take care.